I just want to know why it's so hard to get a job, man. In 2025, it is literally impossible, bro. When you do, you get 7 rounds of interviews for some reason, man. Just for them to go with another candidate. You cannot find the job in 2025. It is literally impossible, and I keep crashing out about it. How the f are we ever gonna find a job? Why is it so hard, man? It should never be this hard.
All right, welcome back, fellow escapees. So today's topic should be unethical for companies to do. This is very time consuming for the job applicants. This is very deceptive to the people that are out here looking for work. And these jobs just don't seem to care that they're affecting the job seekers in the market. So we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about the growing number of ghost jobs that are on the internet and a growing number of scammers that are collecting your information and your data. So according to recent research that I just read, LinkedIn has about 1.7 million ghost jobs right now listed on their platform. Indeed has been the worst. There has been numerous complaints about Indeed posting jobs and then people applying for these jobs only to see the job reposted again or still there months later. And we know with a lot of employers who are speaking about how many applications they're getting right now, they're saying they're getting anywhere from 3,000 to 46,000 applications on just one job. So we know that if a job is posting in this day and age and they have not hired somebody in 90 days, really 30 days, but within 90 days, those are the ghost jobs. And people like myself didn't even know this stuff existed. But when I look back on years of applying to jobs, I realized that I have applied to thousands and thousands of ghost jobs, and I thought it was my qualifications, I thought it was my resume, my skill set, whatever. And then as we're starting to hear from more and more people coming out talking about the ghost jobs and what they were experiencing, now I realize the ghost jobs have been going on for almost 15 to 20 years. So this is not new, you guys. These fake jobs and these companies giving people fake hope, this is nothing new, but it's starting to come out because people are starting to talk to each other on different platforms and different social media platforms and different threads like Reddit and things like that. So they're starting to speak out and say, hey, this is what's been happening to me. But when I look back at the last 10 years, I had applied to all these jobs and I never got called back. So this isn't just like a job market issue where we don't have enough jobs. With the supply and demand for jobs right now is not equal. It's that these companies have been doing this to people for so many years, and so all this time we're thinking we have strong job markets in the past. We're thinking that the job market is healthy based on what the news is reporting, and all this time this has been a lie. We have been lied to as American people for over 20 years. And your children have been lied to. That's why a lot of people's children are getting out of college right now and they cannot find work because there is no work. There is, of course, there is some work and there's some jobs, of course that. But what we're saying is like the amount of jobs being posted and the amount of companies saying that they have a strong, reporting strong numbers in economy to the economists, those have all been fake. We have already been able to track and document this as of now. So why would companies do this? People are saying people are trying to figure out what is going on. Like, why would they do this to us? Why would they give so much fake hope to the American people just to post a job that doesn't exist? So now there's recruiters coming out that are saying that they are admitting that their job was telling them to post a job that they knew they did not have in their company. And there's recruiters, we're going to take a look at some of those videos here in a second. I want you guys to check this out because there are recruiters actually coming out and saying, hey, I lost my job because I refuse to keep posting these fake jobs. They were actually having people come into the office and do interviews. And some people who are being honest, like HR representative recruiters that are coming out now and being honest about what was going on and blowing the whistle on some of these companies, they're now saying like they will go through 1 to 4 interviews knowing that their role really wasn't there at that company. So why would companies be so unethical? What are they getting out of this, you know? So the reports have been that when they post jobs, it makes stockholders, if they're a public company, then it looks like that the company is doing well when they have openings. So it's to help their, you know, like their image in society or in the public. It's also, if they have an HR department, it's to keep their HR department busy so they can have candidates readily available just in case an opening does come up. But those HR people know that job doesn't exist or isn't open yet, and it could be months before or years before that job actually opens. They just want to have a pool of candidates that they can pull from as backup. They also have reported that the reason why they post fake jobs is because they want the people that are already working for those companies, let's say they're overworked, they'll post a fake job and say, hey, we posted a job for this role. We're going to help, you know, we know that you're overworked, so we're going to hire somebody else to help you with this workload, knowing goodness well that they're not going to do that. They're just trying to act like they're looking for an additional person to help with that department, but knowing that they want to overwork and get as much hours and times out of the current workers. So they're doing things like that. There's also been an increase in scammers. I know I've gotten some emails and texts from people saying, we have this job opening, you've been selected. It's not Microsoft Teams, but it's some kind of other app or system. I've never even heard of it until this happened. And they're like, download this app and we're gonna have a meeting on this app. And I'm just like, I've never heard of this app. If it's not Google, Microsoft, something that we, some brand we know, Zoom, I'm not meeting you and downloading this app. I'm not having an interview with you on WhatsApp. I'm not having an interview with you on some text message or whatever. I had one recruiter reach out at one time and they were like, we're going to be calling you tomorrow. We're so impressed. We want to talk to you. The recruiter called me on a Saturday, like, hey, on a Saturday morning, but that, I think I was still asleep because it was like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, but I was still knocked out. Sometimes I sleep in late on a Saturday. And I was like, not only did I think your email was a little sketchy when you sent it the other day, they did call me on a weekday. I think it was a Thursday when they sent me the message. So they did call me on Friday, and then I didn't answer them because I thought it was a little sketchy. And then by Saturday morning, she was calling me. And I was like, in the last 20 years of me dealing with recruiters and jobs, unless it's some kind of, I don't know, volunteer or something not related to like a corporation kind of job, just some side job or whatever, I've never had a company call me on a weekend, ever, in 20 years. Never had a recruiter. You're a recruiter. No recruiter. I've dealt with lots of recruiters in my lifetime. No recruiter has ever called me on a Saturday. I can only think of maybe possibly a restaurant kind of job when I was a little bit younger. Call me maybe on a Saturday and say, hey, we got your application. Can you come in tomorrow? Because they need help or whatever. We want to talk to you soon because we need to fill this role. So that's probably the only time I remember somebody calling me on a Saturday for a job, or like I said, some little side hustle kind of jobs. People may call you on a Saturday because those jobs you're going to work on the weekends anyway, and they may call you. But for a corporation, not Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 kind of job, 8 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever, never in my life, never even heard of it. Even when I would reach out to recruiters on a weekend just to email them or shoot them a text asking them a question about a role we may have talked about during a week, they never have answered me. I can't even get a recruiter to answer me after 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's like the latest. And I remember one time I was actually starting a role, and the lady, by the time she sent me the information, it was late on Friday, and I had called her around 5:30. She still wouldn't pick up the phone, and this was something that was about to start next week. And she called me Monday morning, got me all set up, but I'm saying I don't know any recruiter that will call you on a weekend. So I already knew that was a scam. Plus, just trying to follow the website and figure out what company it was. That this website didn't look set up legit. It looked kind of cheesy, but it just didn't look like a real recruiting website to me. So I got some notes here of what I want you guys to look out for. I would say, since I've been applying for jobs, I used to use a site called Monster and Yahoo. Yahoo used to have jobs back in the day. And I remember applying on Yahoo's job site, and I don't ever remember getting a call back. I can't remember. I want to say, I don't know if that time, because I did have restaurant jobs. I may have saw a restaurant was hiring there, and I might have, because back then you just went in person. This was like 20 years ago. So you go in, even if you saw them hiring, you would go in person to talk to them and give them your resume or fill out an application. So that was 20 years ago. But I remember I would constantly apply on Yahoo, and I never got called back from jobs. And then I remember Monster, one called monster.com. Monster, same thing, almost 15 years of applying, because I kind of gave up on Monster, but I think about 10 or 15 years of applying on Monster. I have never gotten one interview, one call on Monster. Not one, not even. Yeah, and I just think Monster is a ghost site. I think Yahoo and Monster were ghost sites when I look back at them. Now, they're saying that LinkedIn, Indeed, we already know is a problem. Too many people have complained. Doggy under my feet. I'm a doggy. Too many people have been complaining about Indeed for too many years now. I was a sucker because I think I've given out my information to a lot of companies that weren't real on Indeed, and I kind of feel bad that happened because I didn't know what to look for or what the signs were. But I got them written down now. We're gonna go over those. So another one's LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, okay, everybody knows LinkedIn, you can see a job that's open when someone is trying to hire. The only luck I've ever had on LinkedIn was I did have a lot of recruiters reaching out to me a few years ago for jobs, and at the time I wasn't looking because I was working for myself, or I just already had something on the side, because I did take on some temp roles, and I had some temp roles when they reached out. But I know the thing with LinkedIn is there's a lot of professionals on LinkedIn. So if a company posts a job on LinkedIn and that job is still showing as open or not filled for over a month, I feel like out of all the job sites that I have come across, that if someone posts on LinkedIn and they cannot fill a role, that has to be a fake job, or the company is just trying to put up openings to make it like their company is doing better than it is. Because LinkedIn is one of those platforms that there's so many millions and millions of professionals on there that even if I wasn't looking for that particular job, I know someone who might be looking for that job, and I'm going to tell them about it and they're going to apply. So if a LinkedIn post can't even fill a job within 30 to 90 days, that has to be a ghost job. So things to look out for. Things to avoid the scammers is what we're going to talk about right now. Is when you're putting out your resume, try not to put your full address, even if it's like like if you live at 123 Main Street, apartment 2, maybe just put 23 Main Street apartment. Don't even put your apartment number. Do put your zip code and things like that in the city and state, because when jobs are looking for candidates, they want to know where you are compared to the distance from the job. So that is important to some employers. They won't hire you if you're in another state or you're too far from that job. They may not consider you. So be careful using your full name on job applications. Of course, you have to put probably your legal name, but maybe if you go by a nickname or something, and or don't put your middle name. You don't need to put all that. Never give out your social security number, even if they ask you for the last 4. I made the mistake of doing that, but that wasn't on an Indeed job scam. It was at a temp recruiting agency. They did ask me for the last 4, and I thought that was bizarre, because that's one of the things I've never been asked for in 20 years either. And the thing is, that job, even though they had a reputable site, it looked like a reputable company. The thing with that company is that they sent me a job. They said they submitted my information to this oil company for me to be considered, and then 2 or 3 months later, another person from that company called me and asked me the same questions, would I want to be considered for that exact same job? And I just they still haven't filled that job. Well, what I was told was they put that role on hold. That's why I didn't get it. When I had applied, they're like, oh, it's the holiday season, that got put on hold. I said, okay, so after the New Year's, I should hear something back. Within 3 months after that, another recruiter from that same firm reached out to me and was like, well, we're looking, we're just going through our applicants and seeing who's still looking for work. And then she said, there's this one company that's hiring. She named an oil company. It's a big oil company. I know them. I was like, yeah. And then she was like, so what are you looking for? She went through the whole interview process like the other girl. What are you looking for? What experience do you have? Talk about, she had my resume, and she was like, talk about, what you did at your last role. She went through all of that with me, and she went through pay with me. And then she was like, well, I need your last for your social. I don't remember. I want to say I don't even know if I gave it to her, because at that time I was like, I just, one of your other colleagues just told me about this role 3 months ago and said she submitted my information already over to them. I gotta take a drink because I'm getting my throat. I was getting dry from talking. But I'm like, what happened to when I first submitted y'all submitted me over to that role? So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there that happened. Some people are saying don't use your personal email because you're going to get hit up by spammers when you use the job sites. So maybe you want to create a separate email just for searching for jobs. Some people are saying never. So some people, and it could be because they're younger and they don't know, they don't know a lot about job scams. But this one person said that they had gotten a job, and then a job sent them a check. They went to cash the check, and a bank told them the check was fake. But basically, why did the job send them a check? They said, well, this check is for you to buy equipment so you can set up your equipment to work from home. And then they asked the person to buy a Verizon phone or something. I don't know if it's an iPhone or not, but buy a Verizon phone and then mail that phone back to them so they could set up their credentials or something so they could work from home. It was sketchy. Of course, they got ghosted. It wasn't real. The check was fake. Other ways to protect yourself is just to check the company's website and just make sure that's a legitimate company. Those are just some ways people are reporting. They also said if jobs have been up for a long time, which I talked about, it's probably a fake job. So just be careful with that. A lot of sectors that are talking, a lot of people in these sectors are saying they have been affected. The federal workers, media, finance, and tech right now seem to be the most affected industries as of today. Another problem people are reporting is that they are, so a job will say, and I didn't, this crazy thing is I thought these things, but now when I hear people saying them, I'm like, oh my God, I was already thinking this was happening, but I didn't think a job would go this far. But let me tell you something else jobs are doing to people. So there was one guy, he applied for a job, and he went to a recruiter. The recruiter sent him a job. He applied for it. I believe he interviewed for it, and then they were quoting, let's just say $80K a year. He said he was waiting to hear back if he got the job or not. Within 3 weeks or something like that, 2 or 3 weeks, the recruiter was like, hey, reaching out again, I got a job opportunity for you. And then he said, okay, what's the job opportunity? So he sent him over the same job that he already interviewed for, same, everything, same job description. So he said to the recruiter, well, did you make a mistake? This is the same job I went to about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was waiting to hear back if I got it or not. What's going on? It was, was there you just accidentally sent me the wrong email? And he says, no, that's the job. When he looked at the job, there was the exact same description of his duties and everything. The only difference was this $20,000 less in pay. So what people are saying that jobs are advertising one amount, and what they're doing is if they do decide to select you, it's not a ghost job. This is a real job. They want to select you for the job. They're lowballing you at the negotiation of the salary range. So people are saying that they're advertising one amount and then trying to get people at a lower amount. And I kind of thought this because when I was applying for work, I would notice that they'll advertise this one amount. And then and I never go for the highest amount. Let's just say they're asking for $30 an hour, and I may say I want $26, $28 an hour, just an example, right? So I wasn't going for the highest amount because I know there's some room where they want to give you not bonuses, they want to give you some raises over the years. But I had enough experience where I wasn't entry level where I wanted to go for the lowest amount either. So I tried to meet them somewhere in the middle. And then I wouldn't get that job. Then it'll happen again, happens again. And I was just like, that's weird. I wonder if what I'm asking for is too much, because it seems like everything else I qualify for, it seems like the interview went well. So, and I'm noticing this now. I didn't notice this years ago when I was in the workforce, but I noticed over the last few years this started to happen. And I thought to myself, is it just me? You always think, is it just me? And so I started hearing from people, and they were saying like, well, I went to a job and they would just lowball me, even though they said they advertise. Recruiters would do the same thing. The recruiters, they would advertise jobs, say, we got these jobs. Let's just say office manager, 80 grand a year. And then when they start sending you roles, it's like 60 grand. And I'm like, what happened to the 80 grand roles? You have almost 20 of them listed. Robert Half is really bad for that, because I have an accounting background. So I deal with Robert Half. Robert Half was really bad with that to me. They would show all these accounting roles paying all this high income, like really good income. But you could never, I would say 15 years of dealing with Robert Half, I was never able to get those roles. It was so many of them. And then I would apply, because I moved to a few different states and I was open to living in different states. And the good thing with recruiters is when they're helping you look for work, you don't actually have to be in that state, because they're going to help you as long as you're on your way to that state. Let's say you're thinking about moving into Atlanta. You can start reaching out to a recruiter today and say, well, yeah, I'm looking for a role. I'll be in Atlanta in 1 or 2 weeks, if you're really going to be in Atlanta. So they'll start looking for you and getting you ready. So if you apply to them, and they got remember, they're advertising almost 100 to 500 roles. They're advertising all these roles. So how can I go to 2-3 other states, apply, and actually be in the state? Some of these states I actually went to, I didn't stay long. I ended up coming back to my home state, but I would actually be in those states, and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking, if something comes up, I'm willing to, all I gotta do is go, take a weekend off and pack up a few things and be out here permanently. But I'm out here visiting my family and, staying with them. So I'm seeing what the job market's like. I'm seeing what opportunities are out here while I'm here. And yeah, if something starts in a week or two, next week or a week or two, I'm ready to accept that, because you can accept it, like I said, and just go home on your weekends and just pack and move. If that's a place you really want to be. These aren't places I didn't want to live. I actually want to live by the beach in some of these places I was traveling to that I already had family in. So I was like, yeah, if I get a role, I'll come move out here and stay. So Robert Half, I would apply at different states and still no call back, but they had plenty of, and I would change my address. So if I'm already in that state, like I have a sister in California, so I can put her address is the California address. I don't have to put my Texas address. So I'll make my resume and it'll have that address, and it'll show that I ended my role in Texas. First of all, I'm self-employed now, you guys, just so we get this clear. I'm talking about when I'm looking for either temporal or when people reach out to me for, like, recruiters for roles. So as of now, I'm self-employed. I kind of have some flexibility of when I could work. And then, but on my resume, I still keep some, I've had some temp roles in between. So if I can still use that on my resume to show some more current job experience, is what I'm saying. But even when I had a job and I wasn't on a temp role, even when I had full-time job years ago, I still had the same issue. So this is not like, well, maybe they're not hiring because you don't show that you have been at a job a long time. You guys have got to understand, I'm a little bit older now. So when I make these videos, I'm using current and some past experiences as well. So you gotta probably watch all the videos just to get the whole story, because I talk about different things in different videos. So, and I talk about my life experience and my clients' experience and things like that. But I'm just saying, like, when even at that time when I was looking and I would put that, those jobs never call me back. So think about this. If I'm already in California, for an example, I live in California. I'm currently actively looking for a role. I've already ended my role back in Texas. I put in for all these jobs, and then I'm just there, like I said, for a week or two just on vacation. So I go back to Texas, and I never get a call from that area or any area. I'm just saying, I never get a call. It's not like they're like, oh, we got your application 1, 2, 3 months later, 1 year later, 5 years. I'm sorry. 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago, we've received your application. Now we're hiring. I never get a call from any of these places, but they're advertising so many jobs. Regular job sites, I don't really, like I said, if Target says they're hiring and Target doesn't call me, I'm not worried about that too much. But when these recruiters are doing that, because the recruiters, they usually have a good amount of jobs. So if you're reaching out to 10, 20 different recruiting agencies and none of them are calling you, and you have, we're assuming you have the qualifications, you got the college degree, you have the work experience, you have good references, all that's in place. So why aren't these people calling you back? It's because these jobs are freaking fake. They've been fake. They're just collecting your data. You know, I have some stories I want to share with you guys. There's some more, but I want to share with you guys. This one person wrote in and said, I've been catching on to this recently. I've been looking for another job to supplement my income. Some red flags to notice. If it's been 3 to 5 days and you haven't heard from a company, keep looking. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If the employer schedules a phone interview, this isn't always a red flag, but in most cases, I've noticed if a company schedules a phone interview, they are not in a rush to hire someone. The interview is scheduled almost a week out. I had an employer call on a Monday and ask if I'm willing to come in for an interview for a Friday. So almost 5 days out, that shows no urgency to hire. The employer changes the hiring requirements during the interview. This has happened to me too. Suddenly the expectations and the shift changes when you meet them in person. If you notice a job listing has been online for a while and there are more than 10 candidates applying for a job, don't bother applying. That I don't agree with. If it's a legitimate job, if you feel like it's a legitimate company, go for it. Because I do feel like you could still get your 10 is not even that much to me. I feel like if it gets over like maybe 300 to 500 maybe, but I would even go if it's 300 to 500 because they may ignore those other 200 to 300. Some of those job people, because I used to get applications for when I was hiring for my company, and I would get a lot of people who were not in America or didn't qualify at all. So those 10, 15, 20, or 50 applicants could be don't qualify for the role. So what I would do, I would still apply almost up to 300, even 500 applications if I saw that, because LinkedIn will show you how many people apply. That's one site that will show you how many people apply. And so I would still do it if I thought it was a legitimate, real job. All right, somebody said these jobs are posting just to meet a quota. They are not real, which we already talked about. Another person said, I've seen so many jobs reposted over and over and over again when I was unemployed. I applied for them and never received an answer. A few weeks later, it would get reposted. And on some of them, you could see that there were 1,000 to 2,000 applications. It made me wonder they couldn't find someone to fit the role out of 1,000 applications. They weren't really looking. Another thing I want to share with you guys, if you're leaving a job for a new job and you're putting on a 2-week notice, is some people are reporting, and I've never not put in I probably did it some of my like little side jobs, but I don't remember even those. Maybe once I quit a job or twice where I walked out because the boss was so disgusting to me or I was being sexually harassed and I left. But most of the time I always put in a 2-week notice. But where people are reporting now is don't even put in your 2-week notice, because you got to make sure you have that next job and you actually get to go, you get in the office and you actually get to start. So maybe you can use some PTO or something like that to take a few days off or take a week off, start the new job, make sure it's legit, and then put in your notice for the other job. I had a client, because I'm also in real estate sales, I had a client, he wanted to sell his house and get a new house, and we had the whole process set up for him as far as the lending and everything. And then he decided, without telling us, which you don't have to tell us all your business, but at the same time you're in the middle of getting a home and a loan, you might want to disclose this to the lender. But he ended up trying to switch jobs for better pay in the middle of getting a new house, which can prevent you from getting a home, because the employer wants to see that you already have a job, a couple of paychecks in, before they give you a loan. If you've been consistently employed. So basically what happened was he put in his notice at the last job. The other job rescinded the offer. He was stuck without having a job. And this happened 2 years ago. So that's when I learned that this was starting to happen to people. I didn't know this was happening to people. But a few people are reporting that they are getting offers at these new jobs. And then when they go to put in their 2-week notice, in between them trying to transition, the jobs are taking back their offers and not hiring them and putting the job, either eliminating the role or putting the job on hold. All right, I'm so tired of being unemployed. I've been just submitting and applying for months, 700 plus, and had like 5 responses and 2 interviews that went belly up. I hate how we do business in America. So somebody wrote that. I agree with this person. This should be considered fraud, and those companies should be fined at least. If not, then employees should be totally fine to lie on their resume and submit false competitor resumes. Same thing on the opposite coin. So some people are just saying, like, you know, we want to be honest on our resume, but we can't, because it's like these jobs are, you know, using our honesty against us, or not hiring us, or using it as a reason to not give us the job. And some people are saying that if companies can lie to you about these roles and these openings, then we're going to start lying about, you know, our resumes and what we've done, because they're so sick of being turned down. I just feel like you got to, you know, to keep people from, you know, crime increasing and people from going homeless and hungry. I feel like at this point you got to do what you have to do, because, you know, people are trying to do things like the right way and it's not working for them. They're trying to, you know, be honest and do things the right way, and it's not working. Somebody else said, I went into an interview for a job that didn't exist. They said, we don't have anything at this moment, but we'll keep your application for a few months if anything opens up. One guy said that he saw a job for, what's the name? Panda Express, the restaurant. And he said, I saw the address of that restaurant, and that restaurant is down the street from my house and has been closed for over 3 years. So I don't know if some scammer took that information and tried to just get applications, didn't get your information, or if Panda Express is just, their HR department is just trying to meet their quota and they just put that job up. People are saying that they are going on up to 4 interviews. It's taking them up to 3 months of rounds of interviews, and a job, once they get to the final end of the interview, the job doesn't hire them. That is very time consuming for the applicants. That takes up a lot of the applicants' resources. So you're telling me, you know, if you're going to post a fake job, I understand, as, you know, I'm not saying I understand, but if you have to, as an employer, don't have people showing up for 4 interviews. Like, you need to stop wasting people's time. You're a disgusting HR person if you're doing this. You're a horrible human being, and I'm pretty sure God's wrath is going to come back around to you. There was an HR manager. She was making $200,000 a year. We'll post her video as well. And she is now working a $16 an hour job, and she says she cannot find a job anywhere. I'm going to have that in another video called Reaction Videos on my channel. We're going to talk about her as well. So you HR managers, you sick, horrible, unethical, just disgusting human beings that are doing this to people, and the companies that are doing this to people, you know, you'll feel the karma soon in your own life, because this is sickening to do this to people, to get them all the way to, I can see if you posted your job and you sent them a rejection email saying, hey, we decided to go with another candidate, that's fine, okay? They didn't have to put on any makeup. They didn't have to go get their hair done. They didn't have to go, if they're a woman, they didn't have to go get their nails done. They didn't have to find a new outfit. They didn't have to show up. But once you have them showing up and you're sitting there in your office and you're getting your team to get involved, oh, come meet such and such. Yeah, they're interested in being, you know, in our sales department, our engineering department, and then you find out, and then you have them going through all those fake rounds of interview, knowing that you're never going to hire them. May God have mercy on your soul, you evil person, you. All right, so let's see. So some people are saying some companies got the PPP loan, and they're still going through some of that money, and they get grants from the government, and so they have to post that they are still hiring or looking for people. There are also jobs on Indeed. They'll ask, a lot of information like what's your sexuality? Are you gay, straight, bisexual, lesbian? They will also ask you your race. They will ask you your veteran status, if you're a veteran or disabled veteran, ever served in the military. And then they'll ask questions like, do you have any disabilities? And then they'll ask a lot of other questions that I feel like if it's just an application, you should not be asking people about. But they're saying that they have to collect, and they're asking what's your full legal name, and then you can't get to the next page unless you put in all that information. And I started just when I would see those, I would just delete them. I didn't even want to work for those companies. Some of the ones that ask you about your race, I would just decline those or put I'm a white woman. Because it doesn't matter what my race is. It doesn't matter what anybody's race is. You need to be going by their skill set. It doesn't matter what their sexuality is. You need to just be going by their skill set and if they can get the work done. I understand that for employment, people who have certain grants for military personnel or certain type of equality, whether or not they have to hire a certain amount of women or men or whatever for the roles or minorities. I do understand that they have to collect that information, but I feel like you should be collecting that information once you agree that you're going to hire these people, not just so someone can submit an application. You don't need to know all that stuff. You need to, because people could be using that information against you and using the fact that what your sexuality is, which who cares? Like, they shouldn't be worried about who you're sleeping with. But that is what people are going through. All right, let's see if we have any others in here. There was a really good one I wanted to tell you guys about, but some people are saying that they've applied for jobs like cashiering. They applied to Starbucks. They have applied to a janitor role, and then they get turned down because they are overqualified. So I posted it in another video. If you go for jobs like that and you have like bachelor's, master's, and a lot of experience, I would take some of that stuff off your resume, dumb it down a little bit, because they are going to see you as too overqualified. People have seen a spike in when they apply for these ghost jobs. The listings are used to create multiple mailing lists. I have seen a spike in spam after submitting applications last year. So people are getting a lot of spam emails once they submit these applications. I know my phone started blowing up with a lot of calls from unknown numbers, and it was back to back, and it was like they wouldn't stop calling, and eventually it died off, but you'll notice that as well. All right, so I think that's it for this. I'm just gonna just play some videos about what other people are going through so you guys can see that and you can hear from other people in their stories. So I'm gonna go ahead and play that, and thank you guys so much for watching this part of the video, and we're gonna get to the next part of the video where people are sharing their stories about what they're going through and what's going on. And I hope you guys find these videos helpful in your job search, and make sure you check out the other videos so you can work on planning your corporate escape so you don't have to deal with this in the future. Maybe you do have to get a job for the next few years, but at the same time, when you go into the jobs this time around, you're going to know what to look out for, you're going to know what to do, and you're going to start getting your finances and money together so you don't ever have to go through this again in your life. And you can also help anybody in your community who is also going to trying to navigate the job market, because I have a feeling that with the technology, the rise in AI, we're going to be experiencing a lot more job layoffs, reconstruction of the job market. Stop listening to the news. They're giving a lot of fake data as well. The government is giving out a lot of fake data, whether they're getting it from on a local level from the states, or they're getting it from these companies that are posting these fake jobs. They're also reporting fake numbers about where the job market stands and how strong it really is, when slowly, technology is taking a lot of jobs from people, and the system is being reconstructed, and average people don't even know this is happening. They think that they got a healthy economy, healthy job market, and not knowing slowly this stuff is being taken away from them. So make sure you are tuning into my other content so that you can start working on your escape plan, so you don't even have to worry about this stuff ever again happening to you and your family. So let's jump into this next content, and I'll see you guys after that.
I got fired from my second job because I wouldn't post a ghost job. So let me explain what I do for my second job, what I did for my second job. I was a hiring manager. I usually just post job listings sometimes on Indeed or other job listing websites for my company. I'm not going to explain what company that is because I can't do that. But I am going to talk about what I can talk about because I read through my NDA. I used to post ghost jobs, which are fake jobs to encourage our current employees to work harder. These jobs will be fake jobs, so you can apply for the listing, but not actually get hired. They're called ghost jobs. You're probably wondering, I applied for all these places, why am I not getting callbacks? You might have applied for a ghost job, which isn't a real job. It's just put there to show that we're looking for new hires at higher rates to get our current employees to work harder, as an incentive to make them work hard, as opposed to increasing the base pay or the base rate. And I've made maybe 300 ghost job listings. I've made a lot. I've made so many. It's insane. And what messes me up is that they're still doing it. And I got into a little bit of a scuffle, a fracas, one might say, with my previous hire manager. My hire manager said, hey, you stop posting ghost job listings. What's going on, buddy? It's really working. It's helping our team morale. I said, listen, this is the first time I've ever said this in my life. I don't feel good about doing this. This might be the first time I've ever said that. Usually I have like no moral, no ethics about anything. I just didn't feel good at all about doing it, despite the fact that I was getting a massive bag from it. And he said, well, we need somebody to do it, and you're the best we've got. I'm not going to continue to post ghost job listings so our employees can act like they are scared to lose their jobs. That ruins their mental. It destroys their mental health deeply. And he said, that's HR's job, not ours. So I'm talking to him, and I'm arguing. And at this point, he's shouting, I'm calm. So I'm thinking I can take it to HR, and he says, we're probably going to have to talk about this later, but you should clock out for the day. I said, I don't want to clock out for the day because we're not done talking about the specific issue. This is insane. This is psychotic. So I go cool off. I talk to my friends in the Discord. We're cooling off. We're talking about it. Another one of my friends did the same job as I do. He also posts ghost jobs, and it's disgusting. It's not just my company. It is every company I'm seeing doing this. It's Walmart doing this. It's Amazon doing this. I'm not going to disclose my company, but it's Best Buy doing this. They're posting these fake job listings to trick you into thinking, oh, well, they're hiring a bunch of other things, or because just in case you're looking to move to a new job or talk about needing a pay raise, and they'll post a new job at a higher rate. Say you got hired in at $17 an hour. They'll post a ghost job at $22 an hour. And if you try to apply for that, they'll clock you for that. If you try to apply for that, they'll clock you for that, and they'll know it's you because they got your social security number and you applying for the job. It is a disgusting business practice. Because as soon as you apply to get a higher position or anything like that, they'll talk to you about it. And they'll ask you, why do you want a higher position? Do you want more pay? Are you dedicated to the company? They'll give you a performance review. They'll check everything about you just to see. I recommend, this is my honest opinion, this is my honest recommendation, doing the bare minimum at jobs. Bare minimum. I mean bare minimum at jobs. Just coast. Just coast by doing the bare minimum at jobs. Don't try to do anything extra or crazy. Just coast by doing the bare minimum at jobs. I'm so serious. Because I didn't know this was so much of it. I thought it was just my job doing this. I thought we were like the monopoly on doing this. That's what I thought. But I'm applying to other jobs. I'm applying to other places, and I'm noticing the ghost jobs. I'm noticing that there are many of them. There are so many ghost jobs that are just fake. They're just fake jobs. I am sickened. I'm disheartened. I'm disgusted. I'm angry because I don't have my second job anymore, by the way. It was a small job. I worked 20 hours a week just doing the analytics and the hiring for a company. That's all I did. But I still work at Amazon. But man, I'm just